Hi, my name's Chris, and at Good Habits we want to share the tools, tips, tricks, things in life that make life that little bit sweeter, that little bit more joyful, that basically alleviate the suffering that a lot of us face, help cope with mental health challenges, emotional, physical, mental challenges, suffering, pain. We're interested in those solutions to that very suffering. The topic of today basically is presence, or the middle way. It's something that is maybe if you're watching this you may not be aware of the concept of the middle way. Whether you are or you aren't, hopefully it doesn't make a difference. The purpose of this video is to basically answer the question, how do we alleviate life's suffering? Because it's something that I've always questioned myself and I've always battled with, because we want to live a life of joy, right? We want to live a life of peace. I'm looking around because I'm walking around the park and I'm like, if anyone sees me with this light and this camera and the microphone, they may think I'm crazy, but who cares, because I'm doing what my heart is telling me to do. This is what I want to be doing. This is what I want to be sharing with you guys. And so suffering in life is usually caused by the mind. There's a phrase, if you don't think there's a problem, is there a problem? Something along them lines, right? So basically the truth in that statement is all problems are created in the mind. And our minds can be hugely valuable tools, as we all know, but they can also cause most, if not all, of the suffering in the world is created up here in these little brains. So how do we stop it? I've toyed with the idea of, I've read books such as Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and he talks about presence, and I embodied that way of life to combat my OCD, and it was working. So you just be fully present in the moment and get out of the thinking mind, take your attention into the body, do all of these techniques, doorways into the now, as he calls them. And that was great. And then I got some coaching, and the coach basically said that was a coping mechanism, and I was just actually avoiding my emotions, which I was like, okay. So then I went and didn't practice any presence and just let everything happen as it, and didn't try to control or be present or focus the mind or control my emotions, and just let everything kind of get out of control, if you like. Let it be as extreme as it wanted to be. And that made a lot of sense to me. I was like, okay, I get it. Let go of control and surrender to the pain. And I found a lot of freedom in that. But increasingly what I found was, during day to day, it led to a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm, and I felt like my mind and emotions were sometimes out of control, and that's not a nice feeling. And I was just like, okay, so I just keep surrendering, and maybe that is the way. So then this brought up the whole concept of what is the path, which is the way. And there's a book called the Tao Te Ching. I've just been splashed there. Wasn't a bird booing on me, it was water, thankfully. There's an ancient Chinese philosophy book called the Tao Te Ching, and that is all about the way. And it says famously in that book, the way which cannot be named, or the way which can be named, is not the way. So basically any way that you can pinpoint, that you can describe, that you can categorize, is not the way, right? Because if you're familiar with spiritual teachings, the presence or the awareness or the consciousness is the silence that gives life, the awareness that gives life to everything, the thoughts, the emotions, the things in this material world, right? So how can you actually name that? That is the unnamed, the unmanifested, the one eternal being, if you like. There's loads of ways you can describe it. The soul, the source, all of these things. But the Tao Te Ching says, if it can be named, it is not the way. So I was battling with this in my head, and I heard a Zen story which was said by Alan Watts actually on YouTube. I sometimes listen to Alan Watts, but sometimes he's a bit harsh for me. But check him out, see what you think. He might be of value to some people. There's probably a lot of truth in his teachings. And he talked about this Zen story where a Buddhist monk went to Buddha, or went to his teacher and said, okay, so how do I become enlightened type thing? And he says, well, have no desires. So he goes away and tries to have no desires, and he comes back, well, I tried to have no desires and it wasn't working. But obviously in trying to have no desires, that's a desire in itself. So the Buddhist teacher, or Buddha, maybe it was Buddha, said, well, go away, try again, have a little less desire this time. And that conversation kind of goes back and forth until it kind of sends the student insane, in the hope that the paradoxical nature of the trying to find the way, you would become so frustrated, you would be staring right at it in front of you, and in that moment become enlightened, because you realise that in all of the trying, it was the mind that was seeking. So it's the mind looking for something in which you really are already at your deepest depth. And it's that truth that really, if you're suffering any sort of mental, emotional suffering, discomfort, that is really the truth that will set you free. And it's the fact that our soul, the source, the awareness of who we really are, who we truly are at the deepest depth. This, you can look it up in science now, they're talking about the unified field. So the trees at their deepest depth, and the animals and all living things and all material things at the deepest depth, there is this one field that unifies it all, and that's where the phrase "we are one" comes from. I understand this is all conceptual and it may be heavy, so forgive me, but this is my expression for today. And back to the point, if we want to transcend our suffering, which exists on the material level, in the mind, in this world, we have to go beyond that and almost access and transcend and basically touch base with our true self, with our true nature. And luckily for us, as Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within. What a beautiful thing. Do we go searching for heaven? Do we go to heaven after we die? But no. The truth and the teachings are that heaven is a place on earth, like the song. It's here, but you just need to learn how to access it. And that really is the way out of suffering. To access that place in the here and now. So how do you do it? Well, the two ways I previously mentioned, you can be ultra present in the moment and practice that art, almost Zen. Life becomes a meditation, and every thought and emotion and reaction you bring your attention into, and ultimately your attention, full attention, means full acceptance. So you would take your attention into the pain, into the emotion, and over time that and you'll get better and better at this skill, this art of transmutation. You would dissolve that pain that you were feeling. So if it was anger, you would take, or resistance, you would take your attention into it, your awareness, and it would dissolve, because that darkness, that resistance, that pain can't survive in the light of your awareness, which is the beautiful thing about transmutation. Transmutation means transforming something, pain, into suffering. It's called alchemy. So the book The Alchemist, or if you know anything about alchemy, it's the transmutation of base metal into gold, which means pain into suffering. So we have that ability as humans to transmute our pain. So that's one way you can do it. You can take your attention into this moment by becoming aware of the sensation in your hands and in your body, and really ground yourself in this present moment. If you want more teachings on that, listen to Eckhart Tolle. He directs people into the now all of the time, and that's really, the now is a place where no problems exist. No thought exists. When you get really good at it, it becomes a realm of space and no thought. And that for me was the way out of my obsessive compulsive mind. But then I realised maybe I was avoiding emotions, maybe I was scared to feel pain. So now I can let go of all of that technique and embrace pain, whatever comes my way. And I would say that's the other end of the spectrum. Rather than being super focused and super diligent, let go and be super casual and open, and allow life to be as it is, and the stress, and allow it to overwhelm you, and keep going through that process and you will find an equilibrium, a balance point. But they're kind of opposite ends, left and a right, or a north and a south, if you like, of the technique. So when people talk about the middle way, people, well, in my interpretation, is kind of muddy, slippy, is the way in between those two. Because there's a middle ground in everything. Moderation, balance is the yin and yang. It's kind of synonymous with life. And my latest breakthrough is I will get up on a morning at 6:30, do my morning routine, but I'll not try to be present. I'll be doing my good practices, and then when I sit down for work at 9 o'clock, I'll be focused and present through all of the resistance. Until now, this morning I had some resistance, but then I was just in a state of peace and bliss and inner warmth and love for the rest of the day. And that's something that I've practiced over the last 5 or 6 years because of the pain and the thoughts and the obsessions and the traumas that life dealt me. My karma taught me all of those things. It really set me free. And that's what I want to help you guys understand, is that your pain, your suffering is really a doorway into liberation. So that's what I do from 9 till around 5 or 6, and then after 6 I let go again and surrender to life as it is, and I fluctuate between these two states, and it helps me balance my spiritual and my human side, which both have to be, I believe, cared for. Because you don't want to be living a life where all you do is listen to teachings, because I fell down that trap, and listen to teachings and it can be peaceful, and yes, but there's a world out there that you have to experience. You have to eat the chocolate, taste the beer, experience the embarrassment, feel the pain. All of those things are part of life's experience, and why deny them, right? And the more accepting we can be of them, the more we don't have to be extremely present. We don't have to let go completely. Like the Buddhist monk said, try and have a little less desire. Try and just edge your way back to this middle way. And the Wu way, the one way, or the middle way, or the Tao, which cannot be named really, is that somewhere in between. But ultimately, I suppose the main message of this video is through spiritual teachings and practices and the daily practice of good habits, which we, through our classes and our events and our retreats, that we're going to build this non-profit organisation to become. We plan to share all of those practices, to bring all of those ancient beautiful wisdom, all that ancient beautiful wisdom and practice to, I know it's been brought to the West, but to our generation, to people who are suffering, especially post-pandemic. People are going to need these type of skills, and this can be the start of an evolution of the consciousness of humanity, and we awaken. This might be blue sky thinking, but it's a dream. We awaken to become more joyful and more loving and more compassionate, because they are not concepts in the mind, although many people think with the mind try to be more compassionate, but compassion and love and joy are natural components of who we truly are. So first we must access or transcend to that point and live from that place, and compassion, joy and peace will be products of that state, which is a beautiful thing. So learn to get there through practice of meditation, breath work, yoga, focused attention, journaling, whichever way. Reading books is huge, whichever way, but that's the main message. Our suffering can be liberated, and that's to me what all of the religious teachings are trying to say. That's what they're all trying to say. There's this one truth that threads through all religion, and it's this one truth that we are essentially at the deepest depth of who we are, the universe, God, if you like, within us all. The kingdom of heaven is within, and your suffering can come to an end, and all of those little challenges are forming you into the person that you ought to become on this planet. So move to a place of acceptance and welcoming over them and see what they're trying to teach you. Because mine was so hard and so, oh, why me, but it affords me, even last week, why me, you know what I mean? But it affords you, the truth is, it affords you and teaches you exactly what you need to learn to become who you are meant to be. Thanks for watching, guys. As I said, my name is Chris and I'm the co-founder of Good Habits alongside Jamie. Between us we are meditation, breathwork and yoga teachers, and we are setting up a non-profit organisation to help humanity reframe their suffering and mental health struggles as an opportunity for growth and ultimately enlightenment. Let's see it, enlightenment. Just finished editing that video. Strategically came where rock lamp, the power of now, and a nice plant in the background. They were all actually there, I didn't just place them there. Just edited that video, as I've seen, and to be honest, I'm quite pleased with how it came out. There's a lot of truths in there. It's a bit intense. Even when I was watching it, I was like, whoa. It's kind of like blow your socks off kind of truth, where you're like, okay, I can't end me suffering. These are the techniques. I'm not lost. There is hope. Even watching it back, you teach yourself things, you know what I mean? And that for me is like an expression of truth. It doesn't come from the mind. It just comes from wherever it comes. If you like the content, subscribe, turn on the notification bell button. Thanks for watching the video. This is episode 1. Plenty more to come. Plenty more helpful tools, tips and tricks to help you end your suffering. Thanks, guys. Take care.